Why has it been so difficult to manage? How can it be fixed? I want to bring in two guests from different sides of the political spectrum who have one goal in common: their shared desire to see comprehensive immigration reform succeed. Former Democratic Congressman from Illinois, Luis Gutierrez, economist; Douglas Holtz-Eakin, president of the American Action Forum, one-time chief economic McCain presidential campaign. Congressman Gutierrez, let me start with you. Good to have you back. First of all, you spent more than 2 decades in the House, much of that time fighting for the rights of migrants and immigration reform. What is the biggest hurdle to passing some sort of comprehensive reform?
I think the biggest hurdle is understanding that the Republican Party and the glue that keeps it together is to be anti-immigrant, is to be xenophobic, is to attack immigrants, and particularly Latino immigrants. It's no surprise to anyone that Donald Trump began his campaign by saying that Mexicans were murderers, rapists, and drug dealers, and that we needed to get rid of them. That's how he started his campaign. The fact is, we have a humanitarian crisis at our border that is our responsibility. And I think it's time the Republican Party come. And if not, then look, we have a majority in the House of Representatives. We have a majority of 50, yes, 50, with the vice president voting, making it 51. Let's just set aside and let 51 people vote and make it happen, because the filibuster is what is causing us to stop. And before we continue, I want to make sure we understand. I introduced comprehensive immigration reform with John McCain together. I have worked with Republicans in the past. I want to continue working with them. The fact is, the party today has been usurped by the xenophobics, by those who don't want. Fact, 2013 in the summer, 67 to 33. It passed comprehensive immigration reform with over 10 Republicans. Why can't we get back there? Because unfortunately, the specter of Donald Trump arose in his campaign and brought us back to this ugly situation of hatred and bigotry.
Douglas, to that point, I mean, has the makeup of your party changed in such a dramatic way that comprehensive immigration reform is no longer feasible? I mean, you've worked on this issue with the nation's top Republicans for years. Where do you find common ground to make a meaningful change?
Well, I think to get common ground, you have to have everything on the table. And there's a big piece that's not being discussed right now. The border situation is very serious, but the border situation existed under President Obama, President Trump, President Bush. Everyone has had trouble with the border. Instead of having that be a reason to not go forward, it ought to remind us that we need to do immigration reform. On the table right now are aggressive legalization proposals from the administration. 2 just passed the House. But what's not being discussed is the fact that when we emerge from this pandemic, when Americans go back to work, we will face the reality that we have an aging and slowing population growth. And without immigration, we will in fact shrink in size as a nation. Our economy will get smaller, our capacity to support our retirees will be diminished, our capacity to protect our values around the globe will be diminished. What needs to be a part of this debate is reform of the core visa system to reward the skills and talents that will allow this nation to have prosperity in the future. And that piece has been left out, and I think it needs to be on the table to get people to the point where they can make a deal.
Reforming the visa system. And it also sounds like, Douglas, you were alluding to something else I wanted to ask you about, because, I mean, the more extreme voices have been critical of, even demonized those who would seek refuge in the United States. I want to read something that you wrote in The Hill for our viewers and our listeners on Sirius Satellite Radio. This is from Douglas Holtz-Eakin. Immigration reform bodes well for taxpayers, job creation, and economic growth. The more than 800,000 recipients of Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, the Dreamers, contribute over $3 billion to the federal balance sheet and more than $40 billion in our economic productivity every year. The people running the Republican Party, Douglas, as you know, those are not the folks that you worked with, like Senator McCain, former Speaker Paul Ryan as well. That economic argument that you made a few moments ago, the one that you make in the article, is that the argument to move Republicans?
I think it's part of the argument to move Republicans, no question about it. And I just want to remind everyone that there have always been harsh voices in the immigration reform debate. And in the past, in 2013, Republicans came together and said, no, that's not us. Those voices are out there, but that is not what the party is. And that can happen again. If we put together the right elements of the proposal, Republicans can support it, and those voices can be reminded that that's not who the Republican Party is, and that's not our future.
Congressman, earlier this month.
And I want to.
Okay, go
I want to thank him for those words. I think they're important. But two things. I see my children and those children that are crossing that border. I see children of the Holocaust who want to come to America, and I would say I'd open the doors to them. To hungry children from Ireland who came to our country hungry. That's who I see. I see children, and I see the humanity of our nation in the past. We should have that same humanity today. They are our responsibility today. And let's remember something that no one ever wants to talk about. The reason that there is a collapse of the Guatemalan, Honduran, Salvadoran economy is drugs, drugs, and drugs. And those drugs are consumed in the United States of America. It is the consumption of those drugs that debilitate and force them to flee the ravaging violence. Imagine if it was your daughter that was to be put out and raped and mutilated, your children being put out to sell drugs. What would you do? I know what I do. I'd get to that river and I'd take them to the United States of America and seek asylum and refuge. Any parent would. We must look at this in a holistic fashion. What affects them affects us. What affects us affects them. Let's have a hemispherical approach. And I love having this. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation, because I see that we can find common ground between Republicans and Democrats. Thank you so much.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation because, you both don't just represent opposite ends of the political spectrum. You've been working on this for years, and you both have sensible solutions to the problem. So this is a conversation we're going to be having as a country for the foreseeable future. I hope both of you will come back and be voices in that conversation. Former Congressman Luis Gutierrez and Douglas Holtz-Eakin, a big thanks to both of you as we discuss solutions.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.